I lived in London in the 80s, part 2. Part 1, I mentioned I met a man, went back, fell in love, worked in a pub, couldn't work legally, lived with his parents. Well, we know how that is. Living with somebody's parents is not always fun. So anyways, I left to go back to California. At the time, my mother worked for the airlines, and it was wonderful because I could fly back and forth just on the tax. Back to get me because he had gotten an apartment in North London. Beautiful place in Finsbury Park and 4. We always went to Camden Lock. We loved Camden Lock. That was on our Sunday list. As a budding designer, what I decided I wanted to do was open a stall in Camden Lock. Camden Lock actually started in around 1974, and it was behind Dingwalls, and it was actually the only arts and crafts market that was there at the time. When we came in, they started opening up other markets, one inside the Electric Ballroom, and then there was one right next door outside. I actually wanted to be outside, not inside. This is basically a ballroom and venue, and so it was dark and I didn't like it. So we opened up a stall next door, and I started buying things to sell. Being from California, I was always taught like you had to go to school. Like if I wanted to be a fashion designer, I had to go to school. I think now at this age, going through my life, yes, there is something valuable about that. But what I loved about being in London, especially in the 80s, there were so many creatives just doing their business. Just opening up a stall, making shit and selling it. That inspired me so much. And I do think I have a business brain just being American and from California and having that education. But also one of my strengths that I learned during that time as a creative and a business owner is don't get so hung up on doing everything the right way. Sometimes the magic is sometimes in the mistakes. And I feel really blessed because I've had assistants come in and they're like, well, you can't sew it that way. And I'm like, just try it, give it a go. That is something I learned specifically from this time living in London and learning my art and my craft and being around young, youthful people that just didn't give a fuck and just did it and just went all out. Something that I do think is lacking in the American mindset. Stay tuned for part 3. Yeah, there's a part 3. I got married.